If you want to maximize your contributions to the PRAP, including your catch-up contributions in 2026, and you want to minimize spillover to the RHA or the Active RHA, you're going to want to watch this video because it's possible that you can't do both. First, I'm Dan Lomar. I'm a CFP professional with United Wealth Management, where we specialize in PRAP management and financial planning for pilots at United Airlines. And my YouTube channel is here to help all United pilots make confident decisions out of complex financial information. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done it, please subscribe. And as usual, this is not tax, legal, or investment advice. So this video is a follow-up to the one I did last week about just what the new rule is regarding to catch-up contributions. There's a couple things I talked about in there. I just figured I need to give a couple examples of, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Just a quick review. It's all about this new catch-up rule that they're implementing in 2026, and it's actually was passed back in, I think, 2022 as part of the Secure Act, but it took a while to implement it. So here we are 4 years later, and they're just now getting around to implementing it in 401ks. In this case, our PRAP. Catch-up contribution rule is that if you're 50 or older, you're allowed to put more into a 401k than what the normal 402G limit is or the 415C limit is. And so it just allows you to put more in there later in your career as you're getting ready to retire. And what that amount is, if you're 50 to 59 or 64, you can put an extra $8,000 in there for a total of $80,000 in 2026. And if you're 60 to 63, you could put an extra $11,250 for a total of $83,250 into the PRAP. That's what it allows you to do. The problem is it has some serious implications with the way this rule changed, is that it has some serious implications if you want to minimize spillover, and that's what we have to talk about. So again, you can put that amount in there if you don't care about spillover or if you're trying to maximize it. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is that contributions that get classified as catch-up are now Roth. That's the new rule. And the one thing I'll say about that is that no matter what your elective deferrals are, so you could have only pre-tax selected on the elective deferral page on the website, is that once you hit these catch-up thresholds, which I'll talk about, then they automatically get classified as Roth contributions. That's all it is. The other important thing to know about this is that just because you are making Roth contributions does not mean you're making catch-up contributions. So that's a very important distinction to make. So don't think that you're making Roth contributions and it's counting as a catch-up, because it's not. Catch-up contribution does not happen until certain thresholds get hit. And let's talk about that. This is what's going to create this this issue we're talking about with the possibility of minimizing spillover, if that's what you want to do. So what happens is a contribution does not get classified as catch-up until one of two things happens, and that is your elective deferrals add up to $24,500, and that's the 402G limit. So you have to contribute $24,500 in order for contributions above that to be classified as catch-up. Or all contributions, yours contributions plus United contributions, hit $72,000. That's the 415C limit. It doesn't sound like a big deal, right? Well, let's talk about this in terms of trying to minimize spillover and how this actually, and what the implications are. If you're not trying to minimize spillover, you don't care about it, or you're trying to maximize it, nothing has significantly changed. And if you're under 50, the same strategies and math that you used to do to figure out the maximum amount that you could contribute based on your income, that has not changed either. This all has to do with trying to get that extra $8,000 or $11,250 in there. So let's see what happens as we contribute to the PRAP throughout the year. I like pulling up my graphic here. If we have down here pilot contributions, pre-tax or Roth, are called elective deferrals. I kind of think of them as coming from the bottom to the top and filling up that bucket. And again, as you put in there, they don't get classified as catch-up until until they reach $24,500. The other way they get classified, contributions can get classified as catch-up, is that if pilot contributions and United contributions equal $72,000, then you're allowed to put catch-up in there too. So here's the issue that we run into. As you can see, if we do the math, and let's just take a high earner, And I say a high earner, for someone who's making above $360,000, and that is the compensation limit. That's the 401A-17 limit. And the IRS says to United, hey, you cannot put your 18% contribution into the 401k on income above $360,000. And that's an IRS rule across all 401k plans. So what that means is for these people who make above 360, 18% times 360 is 64,800. That's the maximum United can put in there. And that's where we get spillover into the RHA based on the compensation limit. So if you do the math and you say, well, I should be able to put $80,000, if it says I'm 55, and I can put $8,000 catch-up contribution in there. Well, I should be able to put $15,200 in there, and that would fill it up. But here's what it looks like if that happens. Because you're not reaching the $24,500 trigger to classify as a catch-up, then it all adds up to all your contributions plus United's contributions all add up to the $72,000 limit. You're squeezing out what United can put in there because it's not classified as catch-up. I kind of think of as catch-up as kind of coming up here on the top. And again, the system used to be smart enough to figure this out. In this case, it's not. And so if you put $15,200 in there, you're kind of squeezing out what United can put in there. And so when the both of them hit 72,000, the 415C limit, United's contribution is going to spill over into the RHA. That's the problem we run into. You can still put your $8,000 in here, but you're going to create some spillover. So you have to think about it like this, is you first have to put your contributions in at 7,200. That's the most you can put in there without creating spillover, because 7,200 is the 72,000 minus 64.8 is 7,200. So that's the most that you can put in there without triggering spillover. So then you have to wait until all contributions reach 72,000, and then you can put your $8,000 or 11,250 in there as catch-up contributions. And if your income reaches $360,000 early enough in the year, then you have a couple more months in the year to do this. Another way to accelerate it is without income, is if your contributions reach 72,000, if you had vacation deferral. That could also help reach the $72,000 limit earlier in the year. Without that, if you make more than that, you're going to hit the $360,000 limit. You'll reach the $72,000 in there somewhere in the year, and hopefully you have a couple months to make that catch-up contribution. So that's the way it is right now. Is if you want to minimize spillover for high earners, you can only put $7,200 into the PRAP. You have to wait until United puts their contributions in. You have to wait till everything adds up to 72,000, and then you put your catch-up contribution in. That's the only way you can do it to minimize spillover. Here is where we really kind of run into this situation. In the income limit, I'm talking about $360,000. There's really kind of a spectrum there based on how quickly you make that throughout the year, because the later in the year you reach that limit, or if you don't reach that limit, it means United is putting contributions the entire year. And I'll talk about what that means right now. So let's use a different example. Someone over 50, they make $300,000. So United puts in 18% of that. That means they're putting in $54,000 throughout the year. Spillover happens at $72,000. And so this pilot can put $18,000 in there before spillover happens. The problem is that you're never making above 360, and therefore United's contributions are going into the PRAP the entire year, which means that their contributions do not, plus your contributions, do not hit 72,000 until the end of the year. And the question is, do you have time left to put your contribution, your $8,000 contribution in there? You don't, because this happens in December. And if you were to make a contribution, if you were to make your $8,000 catch-up contribution in the month of December, it's not clear whether they would count United's first, which then yours would count as a catch-up if it all equal 72,000, or if they would count yours first. And in that case, you'd be able to put the full $26,000 in this case, but it would also create spillover if yours counted in there first. So we don't really know. So the kind of rule here is that you basically run out of time to put the full to reach the full $80,000 that's allowed in the PRAP without creating spillover. So that's the conundrum we find ourselves in this year with this new rule. Again, ALPA put guidance out about this in December. We think this is a system limitation. We don't know that, but they're hoping that it is going to be fixed next year and that there's a workaround this. In the past years, when a person could put their contributions in, it seemed like the system was smart enough to know what was catch-up and what wasn't, and so we're kind of classify them accordingly. But for whatever reason, that's not what's happening this year. So it is. You kind of find yourself in a situation where you want to minimize spillover, and you may not be able to get the full 80 or 83,250 into the PRAP like you'd like to. One situation you could potentially do is you could put vacation forfeiture in there. So vacation forfeiture, I believe that happens in June. So as you see here, as United, that adds up towards the 415C limit. And so that kind of accelerates the contribution here. And in this particular case, you could hit the $72,000 limit, this red line here. It could help you hit that sooner in the year because you've put a vacation forfeiture in there. So that's possible. And then that would also help you have a couple times. But just keep in mind, though, that you have to have vacation forfeiture in order for this to happen. So if you didn't elect any on the prior year vacation cycle, then it may not do you any good. There's nothing you can do this year to forfeit last year's vacation into this year's PRAP. So, but anyway, it's just something to keep in mind in case you do have that opportunity. So, a very unique situation. ALPA is trying to institute a fix for this beyond 2026. Who knows? Maybe it's possible something will happen this year. It doesn't sound like it, but that's the situation we're in. Hey, I hope you found this information useful. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. What I'd like to know in the comments is, did you even know that this was even possible and that we kind of find ourselves in this situation if you are trying to maximize contributions and minimize spillover? If you didn't know about this, please let me know in the comments. I'm kind of curious to know who knew about this and who didn't. Hey, until next time, hey, I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, fly safe.